for me in particular, longevity in your horses is extremely important. I think there's too much pressure now. In particular, I think it comes from owners to see, success at, 3 years old. I mean, or even younger. And like what I say to Joe all the time is, we don't buy horses to see them run in an egg and spoon race, because otherwise I'll go and see my nephew's grade school, run. Like horse racing, like the pinnacle is when they're full 5. Like that we just know factually.
Welcome to another edition of In the Box Seat with myself, Warren Linferner. We haven't got my co-host with us today. His car doesn't get from Ashburton to Umhlanga Rocks. But we're sitting in the library here at the magnificent Oyster Box Hotel in Umhlanga, and it's so wonderful to have guests from all over the country, all over the world come into town for the big day, the Hollywoodbets Durban July day. Joe DeMarta is the man on my extreme left, and he has been on our podcast a few times, a man that's sick and passionate for the racing game, and it really is a pleasure to sit and talk to him again on this podcast. So Joe, how are you?
Fantastic. Lovely setting, isn't it?
It is a lovely setting, and thanks for arranging it at the library at the Oyster Box. It really
Beautiful.
is a marvellous setting.
I haven't been in a library since I was 7.
And the man in the middle, we always talk, and you hear me talking about owners and how we respect them and how we thank them and how we love them and cherish them. And here's a gentleman who I'm meeting for the first time. I know absolutely nothing about Krish Nagendran, but that's what this interview is for, to find out about his racing operation and to find out about him. And it gives me great pleasure to meet him. I've been in his company for 15 minutes, and I can tell you he's a great man. Krish, how are you?
Pleasure to be here.
Lovely to have you in the hot seat, but our podcasts of late, we've been recording in all different places, but this is, I think, going to be hard to beat.
Yes, certainly. It's great to be back in Durban. It's going to be great to be at the races on Saturday.
Let's ask you, first of all, how did you hear about horse racing? I mean, how did you find the love of the horse? And I'm going to also ask you how you met this wonderful man, Mr. Joe DeMarta, but how did you learn about horse racing? Tell us more.
So look, I always grew up in horse racing. So my mom's from Mauritius, and you can say that horse racing is the national sport.
Yes.
And my dad was always into horses. So it kind of always made sense that I would get into horse racing at some point. It's the quickest way to lose a fortune. And my mum's raced with Joe in the UK.
Okay.
And my business has an operation in South Africa. I've always been very keen, and from Mauritius, we always looked up to South Africa as the gold standard for horse racing for a number of decades. So a couple of years ago, we started with Joe to put our toe in the water in the South African horse racing scene. And it's been a journey. I think we're at the very beginning of the journey. I think together we've got 25, 27, probably coming in through in the next season, most of them. But we've got 4 racing on Saturday, which is great.
You've had, well, before I talk about your successes thus far, let's talk about Joe. And I know he doesn't like to be spoken about, but he's a man that I'm not surprised that you teamed up with, because he knows his horses, he knows how to arrange a good time, he knows how to plan and get things done, and what a wonderful, the right person that you've teamed up with.
Yeah, look, I've talked to Joe about horses for a number of years, and I think he's always shared the same philosophy that I have about horses and horse racing and the horse racing industry, what it means to be an owner and what you expect as an owner in your journey as an owner and how you deal with horses. So it was always natural that that me and Joe would team up, and in particular in South Africa, where we think the horse racing industry can do great things.
You're not based in South Africa. Tell us more about that. Talking of Mauritius, etc., but UK.
So despite the accent, for my sins,
you speak magnificently.
For my sins, I went to high school in London. But I live in Switzerland.
Okay.
But I spent a lot of time here in South Africa. I think I've been here already 3-4 months this year.
Joe, how do you find it with, obviously you based in, just refresh my memory, you're in the UK, but where exactly?
I'm in Basingstoke.
Okay, so and Krish is in Switzerland. I mean, I know technology and Skype and all the rest of it, but how do you ensure that your paths cross fairly regularly? I mean, being apart from one another.
No, it's not difficult, to be honest. Like, it really isn't. Obviously, I talk to his mum loads because she's involved in the horses there. Loves a punt, fantastic. And then we both like to get up quite early, so we talk early in the mornings, sort of before all of our team members all over the world start their day. We've already had a chat most mornings before like 5:30 in the morning. And like I said to you in the last podcast, the trainers that we use and the team that we've brought on board makes everything just easy, right?
Okay.
Like, you can't micromanage this kind of situation. You have to hire somebody, trust what they do, and then just report back whenever. So it's not difficult.
Not difficult.
And then we see each other like quite a bit, to be honest, in South Africa. Obviously, we've been very blessed with having good horses that we bought. Some of them we bought as babies, but some we bought into, like Billy and whatever. So now we're blessed. That's what we want to race. We want to be at the big days, right? So I refuse to be sitting in England now watching my horse run in the July. I mean, it makes no sense.
It's no sense, absolutely. That's part of the fun. I mean, that's
100%.
That's part
100%.
of owning racehorses. You know, you want to see them run.
100%.
And you want to go. Do you go to the stables often, Krish? Do you go up to the training yard?
Right, and I think that's really important for any owner, right? Like, going up to this, and that's, let's be honest, right? 98 statistically, it's going to be what 87% of your horses are never going to win anything. So if, as an owner, you want to make the experience worthwhile, you've got to get everything else, which is, you know, going to the stables, talking to the trainers, getting the feedback, seeing your horse's progress over time. And that's, for me, the joy and the beauty of the game. Yeah,
it certainly is, and I'm glad you mentioned that point. And 3 cheers as well. I see that. I told you, you guys can organise. Hey? We've got wonderful champagne. Lovely to have you on our podcast.
I'm very grateful. I can't drink alcohol because obviously Rugby World Cup's coming up and I'm training.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about. We're going to talk about the Hollywoodbets Durban July itself and the day, etc. But so far, you've had quite a bit of success. I understand where you say that there is a bit of a loss rate where you know, most horses don't win, etc. But the horses that you guys have had are ticking over nicely. Money Heist comes to mind, Street Art, and Billy Bowlegs, of course. And so far, so good.
Yeah, of course. Like, look, we've been very lucky. We've been very lucky with having a great team around us. You know, Mike de Haast, who Joao also knows for a number of years, has, you know, effectively been our bloodstock agent, and between him and his wife, they've, you know, been so instrumental in choosing the right yearlings and helping them on that progress, and then also the trainers that we've had, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of Mike de Haast, Mike and Laura, and wonderful people, and he always comes with these not fancy clothes, but you know, with all the designs and they're funky clothes, and I need to get some.
He's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, so it's also Fear and Loathing in Greyville.
Yeah, when I first met Mike, his mode of transport was helicopter, and he was very corporate.
Okay.
Now he's it's a bit looser. He wears unmatching socks now.
Okay.
You know?
Now, and horse people of the highest order, they absolutely adore them.
And there's loads of them, you know, and you just find who you want to work with, who you can work with, and you stick to that person.
Yes.
And, you know, there's always somebody that's got something else better or worse, but look, you know, we are not Chelsea. We don't change our managers and our players all the time. We have our team, and now
we must work over the next absolutely
3 or 4 years, the team will pretty much stay how it is, and then we'll evaluate and see where we went wrong. And going wrong, like Krish said earlier, going wrong is not a horse not winning.
Yes, of course.
That's not going wrong. Going wrong is not getting the best out of a horse, or not doing right by a horse.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? Like, all we can do as owners is fail a horse. So by that I mean that we can fail to put the best conditions for a horse to express his personality in the truest sense that the horse can.
Yeah, absolutely. Krish, do you firmly believe, you know, horses? They say horses for courses, but horses for trainers. I mean, or would you? I know you don't chop and change a lot, but if you feel that a particular horse is not shining in a particular yard, would you try another trainer to see if he could maybe or she could get that bit extra out? Or horses for trainers? That's basically what I'm saying. Do you believe in that?
Look, I think the right trainer finds the right horse. I think that there is a temptation a lot of the time to think that your trainer is somehow cheating you, but I think that means that you've got the wrong trainers.
Yeah.
I think with the trainers that we have selected, we're pretty faithful. We back our trainers very heavily. We're very keen on developing also a new generation of trainers in South Africa. We've got a couple of young trainers who are becoming quite influential in what we would say our stringers. Something that me and Joe are quite passionate about is trying to push South African racing back to where it used to be internationally. So we're taking, for instance, Gareth and Tony up to Paris for the ARC, just to really push, because when I see the international rankings, and like I said, growing up in Mauritius, we used to think South Africa was all the way up here. Hong Kong racing was nothing to us. And it's really important to me to see, and that's why I'm really so impressed with what Greg is doing. It's really pushing the sport back to where it should be.
Yeah.
And we know that the sports entertainment industry is much more competitive than it used to be. Yeah. But South African racing really needs to be up there.
Joe will tell you that Tony, who you've just mentioned, is obviously a very close friend of our family, and they're excited. I heard about that, and I'm hoping that my wife will be there too, because she's hoping to go across to France. And but that's just testament to what you guys do.
Yeah, look, they don't even know yet, but I've spent this week putting the itinerary together. But I can just tell you that they are definitely going to go and see Tony Carroll.
In the UK.
Yeah, they're definitely going to spend time at William Haggis's. I've arranged that.
Okay.
They've definitely going to spend time with Warren Greatrix, who's a jumps trainer,
so
that they can see what it's like to train a horse on an incline of a mile to get stamina. Do you know what I mean? It's completely different.
Joe, I heard something very interesting the other day, and you'll able to set me straight, that some flat trainers, just to change things a little overseas, they'd often send them just to do some bit of jump over, just to change their mindset. Is that true? I think it's a great idea.
Look, there's a massive difference between European racing and South African racing, because if you just interviewed 100 jockeys in England, I'd say 70 rode ponies. If you interviewed 100 here, 70's first encounter with a horse was at the academy. There's nothing wrong with it, but you get horse people. It's do you know what I'm trying to say? Some people are born on a horse, like Richard Hughes, AP McCoy. So it is a different way of doing things. So the lads, Gareth's coming out, Tony and Tony's dad are going to come out, Paul, and I want to take them around, and then they're going to go to see, they're going to go to Chantilly, they're going to see Cricket Head Marek and some of her family, and then we'll go to the Ark, which will be Frankie's last Ark, so we'll enjoy that. Look, Krish and I only disagree on one thing. So that thing's going to affect me. It affects me at the July this year. I've got to have a collar, and it's going to affect me at the Ark.
Okay.
So that's the only thing we differ on,
So obviously you have also had a few, not arguments, I mean I don't argue with anybody, but Joe and I have had disagreements about dress code, and I'm glad you're the other one that's also given him a hard time.
No. So look, my view about dress code is this. It's, no.
Don't poke the bear.
No. Look, my view on dress code at racing is this, okay, and I accept I am a traditionalist when it comes to racing. I don't like short runs. I learned that you don't have ferrets in South Africa, so I now call them mongoose runs as opposed to ferret running.
So he's referring to 5 furlong races and 6 furlong races. No sprint races for us.
But also dress
except
code.
For Cleaver Green, he's all right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exception because Cleaver,
Cleaver's fine.
Yeah, Cleaver's fine. Yeah.
Look, if you look at, say, the UK, where horse racing is a close second to soccer in terms of attendance of any sporting fixture, if you put all attendance of all sporting fixtures together. It is also unique because it has roughly a 50-50% gender mix. And I think a large part of that reason is because women in particular feel safe, which things need to be done about in terms of South African racecourses. And the second is that it's an opportunity to socialize, dress up, and we all know that men in general tend to be sloppier in their dress. So, if you're with your partner and she's made the effort to dress up and you turn up wearing your old Springbok jersey and a pair of shorty shorts, she's going to feel like a right muggins.
Yes.
So I've always said, well, if you force men to dress up, that allows women the freedom and the space to be able to dress up and then have a nice time, because it's a social occasion you can do in the day.
Sure.
And then I think you'll begin to see South African racing, the attendance pick up, and again occupy the place in the social calendar they're used to.
Fundamentally, I agree with that. I think that it is a day out, and people do like to get dressed up. So I actually agree with that philosophy.
Yeah,
100%.
Because
I just personally.
You're just a slob person.
Like wearing. That's all. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah, and again, I think that what's important about, if you look at interest and engagement in horse racing, is that what you've got to do is you roughly have two buckets of people, roughly speaking. People who are punters, and personally, I would say if you're a punter, you probably can watch the race better at home or in a bookie shop, because you can watch on TV, you can see the close-ups, you can probably now get the sectionals. Or people who want to go there because it's a day out. And you need to be able to attract both sets of people into racing for the industry as a whole, for the thing that we all love, to be in a healthy place.
Great point. Your colours, your silks, they are gorgeous. I mean, how did you select them? Did Joe assist you? Tell us about how you got your colours.
I don't have a creative.
Well, actually, our colours are the same colours as. So we are in one of the companies that we have here in South Africa. We've got a gas business, LPG business, which we're launching this year. They're the same colours as that. So, about a year and a half ago, when we selected the colours here, I thought, well, let's try and do the same, so that way people at least recognise it.
Yes.
And I didn't realise basically the same as Hollywoodbets colours.
Okay. They are really, really stunning colours. I do, the very, very nice colours. Now, let's talk about. We don't want to talk about your whole string, but Saturday is. Even. You think I'm completely mad. Maybe you experience the same. But in the week to the July, although it's a hectically busy week for everybody, but I find that I take a long time to fall asleep because I'm so excited. And it's Thursday night tonight. We've got Friday, Saturday, and it's the big day. You've got 4 runners. Let's talk about those 4 runners in no particular order. That's an achievement on its own, and a runner in the main race, the Hollywoodbets Durban July. How are you guys sleeping? Like a baby, waking up every half an hour crying.
Well, I did a podcast the other day. So this July started for me not last week. This July started for me 47 years ago.
Okay, sure.
Because that's when it started, right? Because that's what you want to do. You want to go into the July. So that's when it started. So I'm ready. I've been preparing for 47 years. Obviously, I'm older now, so I don't rehearse winning speeches like I did when I was 18. If you get into racing, then that's what you want to do, right?
Sure,
so for me, I'm okay. I'm slightly different to most other owners. They would probably tell you that they're hoping for a good day. I'm not hoping for a good day. We're going to have 4 winners. That's it. We've come to win 4 races. Now, that could be arrogant, confident. You can dress it up however you want. But that's the way I am.
That's what you've come to do. You've come to make up the field.
I don't care about the rest of the horses. I love all the other trainers. I've got horses.
Would they say we're not here to play tiddlywinks?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So in street arts race, I want Tony to win and Mike's horse not to win. Then in the July, I want Alex's horse to win, but Mike and Tony, no way. That's just how it is, right?
Sure, absolutely.
And I think also, funnily enough, getting back to the trainers that we've got, they all know that we have horses with, there's no underhand, everybody knows, today I was at the sale, I sat with Tony, I sat with Gareth, it is what it is, right?
Sure.
So, personally, I'm sleeping very, very well. I'm trying to work out how I get enough Yankees on that if all 4 win.
And how they're going to, you have to take suitcases.
Well, it's 70,000 to 1, all 4 winning. So 10 Rand is 700 grand. That's just for the 4-timer. Then you got the trebles and the
Yes,
doubles.
yes,
So
yes.
anyway, that's where I am. I'm cool. I'm looking forward to the race. We'll be in our box, but can you believe I'm saying a but? But we're actually also going to be in the parade ring for 4 of the 12 races, so we're not going to be in the box
All the time.
all
yeah,
the time.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
that brings its own little nuances of all the guests that we've got. We've had to now create a list. Who's allowed to go where? Who's allowed into the parade ring? So, nice problems to have. But
Nice problems, yeah.
I'm sleeping well, Warren.
Okay, good.
Looking forward to
It's a cracking day. It's
a great day,
certainly a holding thumbs that I'm able to interview you guys on the winners roster in one of the races.
So
And
how are you sleeping? I don't know.
you don't-
I don't sleep anyway, so there's no change there.
But on the serious side, Krish, I mean, it's a hell of an achievement, really. I mean, let's call a spade. To sit back and know that you've got it is your Hollywoodbets July first runner, is it?
We had
In the race, in the main race.
Main race.
I was chatting to who was it? The connections of second base. Now, irrespective of whether second base has got a chance or not, I was talking to those owners. It's their first runner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it runs first or last, they're just over the moon to be in the race. So
100%.
it's kudos to you guys. I'm really chuffed for you. So I'm sure you're really excited.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And again, thanks to Mike. Mike brought us a horse. He was always a big believer in the horse. We talked to him a long time about the horse. Look, Billy is Jess, who was in the room earlier. Her uncle was the breeder, Rennie, and they are great believers as well. So,
are you concerned? At this time of the year, there's so much conversation around the race, and this person says that can't win, this can win, etc. I don't like this, but what I have picked up in the general podcasts and things that I've listened to is certain people are concerned not about the horse's ability, not about Billy Bowlegs. He's a top horse, he's a magnificent horse. Is the course going to suit him?
Whoa, geez, I didn't know we were going to have a serious conversation. Look, if you look at his running, so he ran on Gold Cup Day last year, or did he run on July Day last year? I think he ran on
Gold Cup Day.
He ran on Gold Cup Day last year, I think. Yeah, and when I think actually Sean Veal rode him as well. Funny enough.
Okay.
And Sean felt that he needed a galloping straight. Okay, but I'll never forget when he got beat in the Derby in Joburg behind Son of Raj, I think.
Yes, Son of Raj.
I was walking down to the parade ring with Alec, and I said to him, I can't believe we got beat, the pace, blah, 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 whatever I said to him. No profanities, I hasten to add. I was just analysing what had happened. And he said to me, he's a completely different horse. He could be a July horse. That's when Alex,
Sure.
yeah. And I said to him, really? I said to him, but what about the course? And he said to him, no, he's a different horse now. So look, it's
That's
a
a
big
good
race.
point. Good
It's
point.
a big race, 18 runners, isn't it? 18 runners?
18 two reserves, correct.
Yeah, 18
two
runners.
reserves.
I mean, I've watched the July since 47 years ago. I can probably tell you that in the last 47 years, if there's been fields of 18 every time, so we'll extrapolate that, there'll be 47 times, I would say 47 times 12, which is nearly 600 unlucky July runners.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
When you've got a good horse, and he's potentially rated 100 and he's running in a maiden, right? Doesn't really matter sometimes what goes wrong in a race because 50% of the field's only ever going to be rated 70. So he's already got them. This is hard. This is not the Olympics. That's like the Olympics of
Horse racing, yes.
So
okay.
you've got to have everything's going to have to go. Everything. So I don't think the course is going to be an issue.
Okay.
I don't think the jockey's an issue. I don't think his preparation's an issue. But I also don't know if he's going to jump out and Fred Flintstone bumps him.
Yeah.
No, you just don't know, right?
Sure.
So I think he's right. Alec is spot on. Alec's family's,
Horse.
it's July through and through, right?
Yeah,
So no, I think the course will be fine.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that from you. That's fantastic. Talking of dress codes, are you? Your suit, is it to your colours or
No,
just a standard regular suit?
Regular racing suit.
Regular racing suit. Okay. And so Billy Bowlegs, well, we've touched on him.
Yeah.
Money Heist, we were just chatting off air. Second run back from the gelding.
Yeah, listen.
And I use that word loosely.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. So look, yeah, he's just a very, very good horse, and because he never gave Gareth any aggravation, we never thought about gelding him. And Pierre, who rode him, we engaged Pierre and whatever, and Pierre gave him fantastic rides. Although they weren't winning rides, they were fantastic rides from a longevity perspective, I just want to backtrack 30 years, or 25 years, 30 years. I'll never forget a trainer said to me, Pierre Stradum can win a race by a short head, and that horse eats all its food the next day, doesn't know it's been in a race. And I'm telling you can say that about Money Heist. Pierre was very kind to him in those 4 or 5 starts that he rode him. And then, as you know, we decided to ride him in Scottsville.
Yeah.
And Ati rode him. And I've told Pierre, if Pierre rode him that day, he gets beat. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt, because Pierre will never, ever have gotten him over the line with that vigour that he needed.
Sure.
But actually then, we got him to that race nicely, but we then knew for sure we needed to geld him. And we did.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I said that in the interview straight away.
Yes, correct.
And I don't think he lasted 48 hours before
Before he had the unkindest cut of all.
Yeah, and you saw his run in the sprint the other day.
Yeah, huge.
That was a really good run.
Yeah.
And not because he's our horse, but he's a very nice horse. And Bernard Faderbs worked him. He really thinks he's a top horse. Pierre thinks he's a top horse. So he's a really good horse, yeah.
The other two, just refresh my memory, of course, with Tony Peter is
Street Art.
Street Art, also good form, etc. And all systems go. And talk to us about Street Art.
No, look, Street Art is a very nice horse. Tony's a very progressive trainer. He's very receptive. People like Tony are the future of the industry here,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And it's so refreshing to hear Tony talk about horses, talk about his theories, his philosophies about developing horses. We're, like I said, very optimistic about Street Art. But just I wanted to touch back on Money Heist. Look, so for me in particular, longevity in your horses is extremely important. I think there's too much pressure now. In particular, I think it comes from owners to see, success at, 3 years old. I mean, or even younger. And like what I say to Joe all the time is, we don't buy horses to see them run in an egg and spoon race, because otherwise I'm going to see my nephew's grade school, run. Like horse racing, like the pinnacle is when they're full 5. Like that we just know factually. Obviously for the punting market, it becomes a little bit more complicated. But it's important as an owner to see how the horse develops to its fullest potential. And I think the same with Street Art. Like we've given it time.
Yeah.
And Tony's been part of that, and we've seen under Tony some really, really.
Well, his stats are
interesting
phenomenal. Huh?
Yeah.
He had 6 runners today, 3 winners, 2
Absolutely. I think they were running off a 27 or 22% winners to run a stride
seconds.
rate.
Tony's good. Gareth's great.
Gareth's a lovely young trainer.
Although Tony, if we're talking about dress code, I mean, when I first saw a picture of him, I was like, is that a trainer or is that top, right?
But listen, but even like sort of managing the string, you also need the Alec Laids of this world, and we need the Mike de Cox, we need the Brett Crawfords.
And you've done it well with the way you seem to spread it over and spread it through.
You need. Look, not even Sheikh Mohammed could just have one trainer. It just doesn't work out like that, right?
Sure.
And it's not about them competing with each other. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just about, because we learn from everybody and we teach everybody and we all work together, and it's really good. I think Street Art will run well. I'm hopeful. Touch wood, he'll run well.
We've got Humdinger as well with Mike.
Humdinger, look, what Mike de Cock's done with Humdinger is like unbelievable. He's won me 2 Group 2s. That's it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's a tough race for the filly tomorrow. Saturday, sorry. Of course it's a tough race, but the mile at Turfentine is much harder than the mile at Greyville. Of course, Princess Color and Desert Miracle are very, very nice fillies. But you know what? We'll be in front, hopefully. They'll have to catch.
Absolutely.
So who knows what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, I sent Mike a screenshot. I did a whole analysis of the Garden Province. Have you ever done it?
No.
Well, the Garden Province throws out results like you cannot believe.
Funnily enough, Captain's Ransom, I think, got beaten. In the
Yeah, absolutely, last
absolutely,
year. Yeah. But we've had 75 to 1 shot winners of the Garden Province.
Yeah.
You know, because it is a tough mile race, it is a Group 1 race, but some of those fillies have been running also all season, and all
Sure.
it takes is anything.
Yeah,
and
the crowds or something to
whatever.
overwhelm them or whatever.
Yeah,
it may
yeah, yeah.
be.
So actually the history, and I sent it to Mike, I sent him a WhatsApp about 2 months ago. I said to him, more crazy conversation tonight. Have a look at this. And I've listed the last 15 winners of the Garden Province, and there's only been 3 favourites. There's been a lot of upsets.
Yeah. So
Might as well have a go, right?
okay, so the 4, that's Billy Bowlegs, Money Heist,
Humdinger.
Street Art, Humdinger. That's it. That's the 4.
That's the 4.
That's the 4.
Next year,
More than 4.
at least 10, I would say.
Yeah,
You can see
100%.
raise the bar, raise the
100%.
bar.
Well,
So, Joe, if we don't have 10 next year,
we'll change rooms for the interview.
We'll go to the pool deck or something.
Look, well, not even next year. We want to get to the Cape season after this. We're straight
Absolutely.
down there with all these good horses. Come on.
absolutely. There's the
Well, let's
Cape,
take some of Bortsy's money.
And now, your work. What field? You touched on gas, etc. But is that your main?
no, so we're, look, about coming up 10 years ago with a business partner of mine, an old school friend, we set up a logistics, commodities distribution business across Africa called Ducat.
Okay.
We opened our office in Cape Town just over a year and a half ago, although we've been looking at South Africa for quite a long time. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Fantastic.
commodities, you know what that is?
Yes.
Go on.
Well, logistics and commodities.
Logistics and commodities, logistics, transportation, etc.
Yeah, so yeah.
And commodities?
Commodities, organising the logistics.
Almost.
Come on, you got to stand at 8.
So do you... and in Mauritius.
Yeah, no, stand at 8 in Mauritius.
So that's like a standard 2 over here.
He's naughty, eh?
No, so next time you have a curry and rice,
Yes.
there's a high probability.
That the rice came from me.
Okay. Okay.
So look, in West Africa, we probably
Commodities. Okay.
So
okay.
yeah, so we probably move in West Africa
It's been a long day.
3 to 4 million tons of rice.
Sure.
I would say 1 and 2 people in West Africa every night, they either have got light or food that's come through our hands.
Okay. Sheesh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. We've got to ask. We are in the home straight. Because there's a cocktail party for these gentlemen that takes place in about 20, 25 minutes, half an hour, that they've got to go and enjoy. And that's an experience on its own, which we're going to enjoy one another's company, but off camera. But there's 1 or 2 questions that the team always like me to ask, and I'll ask them. And do you want to answer them too?
Am I invisible?
Your greatest, what is your greatest strength and your greatest weakness?
Well, look, I guess as both in life and as a horse owner, it's my ability to take pain and suffering. Because as an owner, I think the most frustrating thing is when you know you have a good horse and they just fail to perform on the day for, like Joe said, like any one of those 10,000 reasons.
Yeah.
And there's been so many times, both here in South Africa or in the UK, or hopefully we eventually get a couple in France and Japan, because I'm personally sick for Japanese racing and French racing. When you know the horse has got it and something just goes wrong.
Sure.
And that ability just to say, well, actually, there was nothing wrong with what we did. The preparation, the training was good. The feed was good. Because I'm really into those micro details, right? Like trying to see how you get those marginal gains. Like what are we feeding the horse? What's the mix? Is it too much teff? Is it too much lucerne? Like what about medication? Like what about the training schedule? Like are we training them? Why do we train horses always early in the morning when they're racing in the afternoon? Something that no one still has answered me. Is it just because trainers is it just because trainers are like farmers? Like is that why they have to do it?
Good question. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like those are the things, right? So you just think like, have we got all of these things right? But sometimes, you know, like, it just happens.
Yeah, it just happens. Yeah.
And you just got to take it on the chin and just say, well, actually, we couldn't do anything different.
So that's you can take pain and suffering as your strength. What's your strength, Joe?
My strength
Yes.
is I'm able to sit in a room with anyone.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if they are a king or a pauper. I can mix with anyone.
That's a very good strength to have. And then, Krish, your weakness. Doesn't have to be in racing or your weakness. I mean, I made somebody laugh the other day when they asked me what was my weakness and they thought I was balmy. I said, bags and bags of those soft eating gums are my weakness. I eat them all day and all night.
Haribos.
Well, Haribos, yes, but
The king of the soft gums, but you take any soft gums.
You'll take anyone.
any soft gum, absolutely.
Any soft gum.
I'm currently eating kgs of the ones from Woolies, but any soft gum will do.
Any of them will
Well,
do.
you
That's my
keep
weakness.
eating those, right? And in about 15 years' time, you'll just be able to lick your gums because you won't have any teeth. And they'll be soft.
They'll be soft, absolutely. But your weakness, what's your weakness, Krish?
Such a long list of weaknesses. I'm just one long list of fallibilities. If someone has to say pain and suffering is their strength, I mean, like, their list of weaknesses is going to be.
Big Joe? Well, I say Big Joe. He's always cool. I've always called Big Joe because he's a lovely, big, strapping friend of ours. But and you've lost a lot of weight. Well done to you.
Thank you.
You've been on a long road. Well done. You've done so well.
Yeah, thank you. My weakness is, and I was speaking to another friend of ours, Cliff DeCarmo. I was speaking to
Yes.
Cliff yesterday morning.
Another man who loves
My
racing.
weakness is when I say something to someone that I've just met in that same room and they don't convert. So if I say to somebody, yes, buy this horse or buy this set of golf clubs or whatever it is, and they don't convert, I get down very quickly because I feel that, like, because I always tell the truth.
Correct.
And because I've already met you and we've already connected, then it's just matter of fact that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so then I hit a downer when I hit a barrier, and we've got a business, Glycian, which is morphed out of the RRC, and I've said to Cliff, you've got to start dealing with these things because, like, I've had enough of being let down. He's like, but you haven't been let down. We only spoke to the guy 24 hours ago. But so that's a real problem that I have.
Absolutely, no, okay.
I'll be a crap salesman, basically. Because you either, look, do you want it? Yes. You don't want it? Leave me alone. And maybe the guy doesn't want it because he can't pay for it, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's always...
Sure. Last question, and then I want to end and just say a few things to you on behalf of myself and the entire team. But if somebody were to come into your fold, into your cocoon, or into your web, into your life, what's a non-negotiable? It's what must they be or mustn't be or
Integrity is everything. I think that you live and die by your integrity. Like, you know, all jokes aside, you can be, for me, you can be, we all know we're human. You all know that you either let yourself down sometimes, or you let other people down, or you don't live up. But if you don't have integrity, for me,
pass me by.
pass me by.
To you, Mr. D'Amato.
It's exactly the same. Like, honestly, like, I'm a product of my father. You know, I'm a product of my father, who was the most ethical, strictest man I've ever met. And I sometimes slightly walk off the line, that I do things that he wouldn't do, but there's stuff that I don't do because he wouldn't do them. And those are the things that matter. So 100%.
And we've had conversations, even in racing, like several times, where, you know, we've talked about things where we could have made easy choices, but for us it's really important, you know, that, you know, we
the right choice.
That we made the right choice. And we've
Yeah.
stuck by them, even though it's probably not been as good for us, you know, in the short run, than it would have been just to be like, oh, well, that's just the way it is. Let's just go with how things are.
Look, it doesn't, just because you've got integrity, don't get me wrong, doesn't mean you don't hustle or have the ability to hustle. No, because they're two different things, right? Okay, but, like, you know, integrity is, You know, like for example, like I've always struggled with
Short races.
no, funny shoes. I've always struggled with funny shoes.
Juvenile
with
races.
Tintin shoes. No, like, so I'll just give you an example. Like I've always struggled with pyramid schemes.
Okay.
Okay, not because I struggle with the philosophy of asking somebody for money, because I struggle with the philosophy of the only way a pyramid scheme works is you've got to go to ask somebody you know.
Okay.
Do you understand?
100%.
Like pyramid schemes literally feed off friends and family, literally. So you've got to go to somebody in your cocoon, like you've put it,
Yeah.
and shaft them. That's what you've got to do.
Got to do, yeah.
So that's my issue with that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's maybe we've never had an integrity conversation this profound. Maybe that's why we get along. Because we don't dress the same.
No, but integrity is the same, clearly.
Yeah, we're pretty close. You know, I mean, you know, yeah, we are. We from that perspective, we're pretty close.
Yeah, although
you know, I spend a lot of time with his mom.
Although you do 1,400 meters, for me, you know.
Yeah, well, Humdingers are 1,400 meters.
I know, but it's just that's just about.
The other thing is, there's also another dynamic at play here, is that, not that he ever crosses integrity, but if there's any mischief, I just phone his mom. No, it's
Simple.
That's it. He probably, because he lives in London and I'm in Switzerland. I find out he pops round to my mum's house, and I find out my mum's cooked him food, like 7-course meal. He sits there.
How's Krish doing? Is he safe in Cape Town? Is he and I say, 100%. But if he's mischief,
Well, yeah, okay.
no, but look, it works, and it works not just because of me, not because of Krish, not because of Gareth, Tony, Alec, Mike, the other Mike, Ziggy, the grooms. It's just like Dennis, who's helping out now with the pre-trial. It's like a whole lot of people, and it's no different to Coolmore. They've got like Aidan O'Brien doesn't do everything, right?
Sure.
Yeah, right. And I think that's really what we're trying to develop here in South Africa, right? It's something along a Coolmore or an Aga Khan, you know, where we're trying to develop, and it will take time. It's not that we expect to win every single race. Sure. And again, it's really not about winning all the races or taking that prestige. It's about restoring dignity back to the sport.
Yeah.
You know, by developing an ecosystem or a cocoon, as you said, of people who share those same values and love the sport and with the same passion that we do.
Yeah.
Now, well, there's certainly passion. There's passion, that is for sure. But, well, it's been absolutely fantastic to touch base, and Joe knows, and Krish, you know, open invitation, and, you know, when you're back in the country and maybe we want to talk again and we want to have a part 2, it's only a pleasure. But from my side and the entire team, and I say it, and some people give me gears about it, and I don't care about that, because for me, it's every owner has their time to shine, whether you're in the winner's box, and to you guys and to Krish, whom I'm meeting for the first time, thank you for the support of the industry around the world, and particularly in South Africa, and to your whole team and to your whole operation. Let it go from strength to strength, and it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. As I said, we've got a party to go to now, July party, Hollywoodbets Durban July party, which we're going to enjoy one another's company a bit more. But thank you, it's been an absolute pleasure, and just really great.
Thanks so much for having us on.
And Joe, and lovely.
I would like to end on, could we possibly remain mic'd up for the party that we're going to?
Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine
that? Can you imagine? We'd have to
but thanks,
yeah,
Warren.
it would be a good idea. It'd be good fun. That would be.
Thanks for this, and to the lads, thank you again. It's really,
That's been fantastic.
It is what it is.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad
well,
Joe mentioned to me. He said, you know, we want to have an interview and chat and learn about you, and as part of the team.
I think it's important.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's important people understand where this is coming from, what the objective is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and what the final goal is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for putting the money in and what the final goal is, and thank you for, you're talking about Ziggy, that's another horse lady of the highest order, but
but honestly, for me, you were talking about what it means to be an owner. But what I get and what my family get out of horse racing I mean, I know it's important to go to things like the July, you know, be in the owner's enclosure, get that. But actually, what I get out of it is every morning, when we wake up as a family, we get these updates, you know, from Summerfeld. So it feels like we're back in Africa again. Well, mainly because there's problems with load shedding, right? But like getting the updates on each of our babies and seeing them every single day, and as they progress.
Yeah, it is important. Communication is of utmost importance. You're quite right. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is some time spent with Joe and with Krish Nagendran and Joe DeMata. Let's hope they have a huge day at Hollywoodbets Durban July Day. We'll be there to enjoy it with them. To you, our supporters and our followers, we hope you've enjoyed this interview, because I certainly have. Punt well, stay safe, and as always, we'll see you on Saturday at Hollywoodbets Greyville in the number 1 box. Thank you for watching this week's episode of In the Box Seat podcast right until the very end. And we hope that you enjoyed it, because we certainly did. If you missed last week's podcast, In the Box Seat podcast with Andrew and myself, please go and watch it here. And last week's episode will be right there for you to go and enjoy and watch, as we know you will certainly enjoy In the Box Seat podcast from last week.